Welcome you all in this review video. In this review video, we're gonna discuss about strategic management. We're gonna discuss about the external analysis, and also we're gonna discuss about the internal analysis. I would like to make up this video for your midterm exam review. So all the things that we discuss in class will be concluded here, but it is not just these topics. You need to review most of the topics that we discuss in class, but here is some of the important concepts that you need to understand and you need to make it happen in your midterm. As we discussed in class, Professor Michael Porter said that there are 4 ways for the company to achieve competitive advantage. So first of all, you need to think that whether your company is focusing on cost or differentiation. And then you're gonna serve broad market or narrow market. So if you bring those two axes together, it's become a quadrant of 4 strategy. And Professor Potter said that this is a source of achieving competitive advantage. So if you look at the cost leadership, it means that you try to make a better cost with a broad market. Okay, so it provides you a basic foundation on how company they can achieve their success. So think about your business that you are interested in and which strategy or which source of competitive they use. So in the first chapter, we discussed about the strategic management that consists of 4 steps. The first one is the environmental scanning, followed by strategy formulation, followed by strategy implementation, and finally you want to evaluate the success of the strategies as well as to control the thing as you plan. So in terms of the environmental scanning, we have internal environment and external environment. So if you want to make a detail of the previous diagram, you can see that those are components in step A, B, C, and D. In this video, we're gonna discuss about the strategic management process as well as the external analysis and internal analysis. So the strategic management process begins with the environmental scanning. The most important thing are these 3 verbs: monitor, evaluate, and disseminate. Okay, these are the key concepts that you need to recall what we discussed in class. You need to keep an eye on the important issue around. You need to evaluate the impact of those factors, and you need to disseminate or communicate the important issues with the key people within the organization. So in terms of the external and internal environment, we can separate into 4 layers. The first one is the physical resources, societal environment, task environment, and finally internal environment. Okay, physical resources, um, societal and task environment, they are external factor. Okay, societal is about at the country level, and the task environment they focus at the industry level. So the external analysis and internal analysis will bring you a SWOT analysis. Okay, and later on after the midterm, we're gonna discuss about the application of the TAO metric that you're gonna use it for the strategic formulation. So the second step, once you understand the external and internal environment, we're gonna work on the strategic formulation. You're gonna develop a long-range plan for your company. Okay, those tools are some example like a TAO metric. But after the midterm, you will see several techniques and several tools. We need to define the strategy and policy when you want to move into the strategic formulation. Okay, and then when we talk about the strategy, we divided them to the 3-level strategy. The umbrella strategy of the organization is a corporate strategy. Followed by each strategic business unit, we have the business strategy, and finally, each function, we have functional strategy. Okay, so with the perspective of the strategic management, we will strategy an organization into 3 layers. So here is about the third step of the strategic management process, and this is the strategic implementation. You're gonna implement what you plan in your strategic formulation. And finally, here is the definition of the evaluation and control. Okay, so those are the 4 important steps for the strategic management process. You must be able to describe it. You must be able to give some example. Okay. So we move to the next chapter. We discuss about the external analysis with a focus on industry analysis. So in this chapter, as we discussed, when we look at the environmental scanning, we have the most important 3 keywords: monitor it, evaluate it, and disseminate the important information to the key people. So we are moving in the first building block of this strategic management process in item A. So when we look at the external analysis of the business, we focus on these 3 layers. Okay, natural physical environment, societal environment, and task environment. So I put 3 stars here. They are all about the external analysis. So the first topic we discussed about the natural environment. These factors are external factors and it affect to you somehow. Okay, remember we discussed about the flood, the severe flood in 2011 in Thailand. That is some example of the external factors that have some impact to your business. So most of the company right now, they are moving to the sustainability. Okay, so here is what we call triple bottom line. Okay, instead of focusing just profit, they need to focus on the environment and society. Okay, so we can say that we should focus on this triple bottom line: economic, social, and environment. So at its sweet spot, it is sustainability. We are moving to the societal environment, and here is about the country level. Remember, we discussed about the pest analysis, steep analysis, and pastel analysis. And we discussed about the task environment, and we focus on the industry. So here is a list of the stakeholders that can impact to your business somehow. Here is the steep analysis. Okay, so when you want to conduct the steep analysis, you follow by socio-cultural, technology, economic, political, and legal. Okay, so you need to make an analysis about target country. The important thing is that you need to conclude whether those factors they provide a positive or negative impact to your business. Okay. Then we move to the Porter 5 forces that consists of the 4 most important 5 forces to your industry. Okay, think about the threat of new entrants, rivalry among existing competitors, threat of substitute product, bargaining power of buyer, and bargaining power of supplier. Remember that when you conduct an analysis about the Porter 5 forces, you need to conclude whether those factors are low, medium, or high. That is very important. Threat of new entrant. Think about the new player to your industry. Okay, they bring the new capacity. Okay, some of the things that the existing players they can make it difficult for the new player is about the entry barrier. Make the new player difficult to enter the industry. We talk about the rivalry among existing firms. Okay, remember we discussed about some example. For example, insurance company in Vietnam, they have more than 100. You see, so they are quite high in terms of the rivalry among existing firms. But when you look at some industry in Thailand, maybe they have just one or two company. So maybe there are low rivalry among existing competitors. Remember that when you want to conduct industry analysis with the Porter 5 forces, you need to conclude whether those forces are high, medium, or low. Trade-off substitute product. Okay, instead of drinking lemonade, you might drink uh, milk. You see, so there are substitute product. We discussed about the bargaining power of buyer. Okay, and finally is bargaining power of supplier. Okay, so if those bargaining power is high, okay, it is not favorable to your business. We discussed about the fragmented industry and we discussed about the consolidated industry. Okay, if in the industry they have several companies, we can say that that is the fragmented. But if the industry dominated by a few large firms, okay, we say that that industry is a consolidated industry. And we are moving to the next chapter. We focus on the internal analysis. So here is the building block of the internal analysis. In the previous chapter, we discussed about the external factors that contribute to opportunity and threat. But right now, we focus on the internal analysis and we focus on the strength and weaknesses. So right now, we are moving to the red circle at the center of this model. Remember that when we discuss with the internal analysis, we focus on structure, culture, and resources. Okay, those factors are internal factors, and they provide you strength or weakness. We discussed about resources. Remember that some resources that are tangible. For example, machine, building, automobile. Okay, some of the resources that are intangible, you cannot touch it. For example, knowledge, know-how, intellectual property, trademark, those are examples of the intangible resources. Okay, we discussed about capability, competency, core competency, and distinctive competency. Okay, so the meaning of the distinctive competency is mean the superior competency compared to those competitors. Okay, and then here is the important framework when you discuss about the internal analysis, and that is the VRIO framework. So each of the resources or the capability of the company, you need to ask yourself that, is the resource valuable? Is the resource rare? Is the resource is very difficult to imitate? And is the company well organized? So if you say for yes, it means that that resource or capability are sustained competitive advantage. And this thing bring you superior performance. Okay? So you must be able to make some analysis about the firm resources or capability through this VIO framework. We discussed about the business model, and we use the business model canvas throughout our discussion. The important thing here is about key resources, because right now we focus about the internal environment. Some resources you have it already, some resource you haven't have it and you need to acquire it. Okay, so in this building block, it's very important when you make an analysis about the internal factor. And the next important topic is about the value chain. That is the link set of value creating activity. Remember that when we discuss about this topic, we have the industry value chain and we also have a company value chain. Okay. So here is the industry value chain and the linkage of them to the company value chain. So the industry value chain, it is about those companies that bind together to produce a final finished good for the customers. But when you look at the company value chain, it means that you focus on a particular company. So here is some example of the value chain of the beer industry. Okay, you remember this? We discussed in class already. So the next topic is about the corporate value chain. Okay, here is one of the important topic. Based on the concept of the corporate value chain, they divided activity of the organization into two types. The first one is the primary activities that consists of 5 items: inbound logistics, operation, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and finally after sales service. These primary activities are very important because they deal directly with the product and service that you provide to the customers. And then the company also have support activities. Those activities are not deal directly with the product and service for the customers. They are the firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and procurement. And the right side of this diagram is about the goal to create profit margin. So in terms of the internal analysis, we also discuss about the several types of the structure. So as the company is getting larger and larger, the structure is getting much more complex. We discussed with this thing in class already. And finally, here is about the corporate culture. Okay, remember that if the company they have a good culture, that is the strength of the organization. If the company they don't have a good culture, that might be a weakness. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your watching to this review video. I wish you all the best in the midterm exam.